Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the March and Silva MMA show, and we're here to talk about one of the biggest events of 2021. Conor McGregor returning against Dustin Poirier. The trilogy is 1-1 for all the marbles. This is it. This is Conor McGregor's could potentially be his career on the line, and we're here to talk about it. Me and Oscar are here to talk, as I mentioned, here to talk about UFC 264. How's it going, Oscar, over there in America?
It is going excellent. Conor McGregor fight weeks are something that you see in movies. Everybody gets together and they all decide that they're going to sit down on a Saturday night and they're going to cheer on Conor McGregor. And I really think Dustin Poirier is not going to be overlooked this weekend. He is the betting favorite this time around after being a huge underdog last time. So it's good to see Dustin get some respect. But at the end of the day, a lot of people are still focused on Conor and his return to his trash talk.
Return of the Mac, shall we say. Return of the old Conor that we've seen in the past. You know, he's returned, and we'll see how that works out for him. Maybe he's going to try and implement the tactics, the techniques that he did in the first fight to try and get under Poirier's skin, under his to try and get in his head a little bit. It worked for him the first time. Second time around, he came in more like a gentleman, you know, had respect for Poirier, and he thought he was going to roll over, and Poirier showed out, you know, yeah, I'm not the same old guy no more, and, you know, I've learned from my experiences, and now Dustin Poirier is a different animal. He's a different fighter, and you know, when Dustin Poirier fights, you know what you expect from him. You know he's going to put his heart, his soul on the line. He's going out there to win, and he's going to put everything on the line to make sure he brings home that win, and that it's just the heart and the durability of Poirier can play a massive factor in any fight. And he took some big shots from Conor in the second fight too. And he was still standing. So if I'm Dustin Poirier, I've got loads of confidence heading into this third fight.
Yeah, Conor's new approach to this fight will determine if he gets the win here. I really think this is a 50-50 fight. I think Conor McGregor is the more talented mixed martial artist. I think he's a better striker at the end of the day, but his endurance and quite possibly his ability to take damage is questionable after getting finished in the second round last time around. Of course, the calf kick and the inactivity were the two major factors he blamed for losing that fight. And those two things, they can be fixed. And Dustin Poirier can make adjustments as well. So I'm very curious to see who makes the better adjustments and who walks away with a win here. I'll start out with my prediction. Dustin Poirier will win this fight by third round TKO. Conor McGregor folded after he took enough damage from Dustin last time. The thing with Conor is he wants to finish these guys in the first round. That's how he does it best. All of his best wins were in the first round. Eddie Alvarez fight was in the second round because Eddie Alvarez was just so tough. But I really think Conor McGregor has about a round and a half to get this done. That's when he looks the best. When it's gone past that, we're talking about the Nate Diaz fight and the Khabib Nurmagomedov fight. The Khabib Nurmagomedov fight went poorly for him in that fourth round. He got tired and he got submitted with a neck crank. When he fought Nate Diaz had him tagged. He had him in trouble. He was pouring it on him. But the thing with Nate Diaz doesn't have the power of a Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier has the power to pull away Conor late. So that's why I'll side with Dustin Poirier, he's never been the most gifted, talented fighter. He's a great fighter in terms of the fight is always in him. He's a dog. Even when he's hurt, even when he's completely gassed, he's going to give every ounce of his soul in there when he fights. So that's why I'll side with him rather than Conor, who will get tired because the power in his left hand is not infinite. He's going to run out of juice and he's going to get finished in that third round.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying at the start. You know what you're getting with Poirier. He's going to go in there and he's going to put his heart and his soul on the line. And he's going to try his best to win the fight, like everyone else would. But Poirier, you know, Conor McGregor has all this money. Yeah, Conor McGregor has all this money. Does he have the drive? And as the famous saying goes, you can never buy heart. And as you mentioned, Conor McGregor folded in that second fight. He looked like he kind of, gave up on himself. After the calf kicks, the calf started to land. His calf shut down, and he knew where the fight was heading. But the major factor in this fight is Conor McGregor needs to obviously check them leg kicks, because Dustin Poirier, it worked once. Dustin Poirier, in the first 10 seconds, Dustin Poirier is going to fire a calf kick in that first 10 seconds and see if Conor McGregor checks it or not. And that will be where Poirier will get his game plan from. In them first 10 seconds, he'll fire a leg kick, and if depending on how he defends, is where the fight will go. If Dustin Poirier can land them leg kicks, he's gonna win the fight again. If Conor McGregor needs to find out a technique, just check it. If someone in his camp needs to teach him how to check the leg kick so he can have success in this fight, because Dustin Poirier is going to go in there and he's going to throw a lot of calf kicks, and it's without doubt, if they do land, we're going to see the same result as you mentioned. But I'm also rooting with a Dustin Poirier. I also see a TKO finish. I don't see Conor winning at any moment. The top 5 in lightweights could potentially beat Conor, but could they beat Dustin Poirier? No, I think Dustin Poirier is the best lightweight in the world at the moment, and that's the only way I see it going. I see Dustin Poirier winning this, and it's going to be a TKO finish, and Dustin Poirier is going to put himself on the map once again. That you shouldn't underestimate him, and he's definitely the best lightweight in the world in the moment, and that's the only way I see it going. I'm not too sure what else to say, but Dustin Poirier TKO in round number 2.
A major focus on the McGregor side was to check those leg kicks, so I'm sure he's made the proper adjustments. He's also mentioned that he will return to that karate stance that brought him so much success, and that he used against Eddie Alvarez to put on the performance of a lifetime. So I think he's going to have a lot of success with that. And he says this entire camp, he trained mixed martial arts. He claims that in the Dustin Poirier rematch build-up, he was focusing on Manny Pacquiao. He said about 80% of his training was boxing focused. And if you watch that fight, that's very clear. He wasn't kicking as much as he used to. He had that boxing stance, and he was just hoping to get some quick knockout and then call out Manny Pacquiao. But that did not work out for him. He overlooked Dustin Poirier here, and I kind of feel like he's overlooking him again in a sense. He's already mentioned that Charles Oliveira is next for him. He already has a venue ready for the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, which seats several tens of thousands of people, and he can't afford to overlook Dustin again here. Dustin will be there to be hit, but he will also be there after he gets hit. Dustin Poirier is very tough, and you can never count him out here. And I feel like a lot of people are, just falling for the star power Conor McGregor here when they're picking him. The logical choice is Dustin Poirier. The guy is tougher. He will be there later in the fight, and that's why I have made a bet for this fight to not go past 3.5 rounds. I'm very confident that this fight does not see a judge's scorecard, because these two guys are coming to finish, and it's going to be an exciting fight.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be an exciting fight. Whenever there's a Conor McGregor fight week, it's spectacular. It's something special. It's definitely something that's unordered. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's different. It's different to every other fight week. If you compare this fight week compared to UFC 263, it's completely different. Look at the video, the clip of Conor McGregor when the fans are outside and he greets them. It's special. But he's got all this star power, all these fans, all that money, but does he have the heart? And it's, as I mentioned, Poirier, he's a dog. He's an absolute dog. After the second fight against Conor McGregor, after he knocked him out in the cage, he's speaking to the commentator and saying, "I don't like fighting anymore. I don't love it, but I'm a dog."
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. He doesn't like the fight. He doesn't like fighting, but he's a dog. He's got that heart. He's got that drive. He's an animal. And do I see that in Conor McGregor? No. But the one thing I've seen for this time around is McGregor's kind of gone back to his old ways. He's now training in California. He's built himself a gym in California, McGregor Fast. He's built it out of his own pocket. Obviously, he's rich. That'll probably be nothing out of his own pocket. But if you watch the, I believe it's the embedded. No, not embedded. The countdown. They show you him in California. Yeah, that's it. And he's building the gym. And the most important thing was he's gone back to his cycling, which we saw in Dubai too. But we're seeing more, road cycling, and we're seeing it regularly on his Twitter, which means he's coming in really good shape. He came in good shape last time against Dustin Poirier, but he didn't have enough. If McGregor comes in the same shape, checks them leg kicks, he could have success. But I'm rooting for Poirier. I think he gets it done. I think the durability of Poirier at 55 is completely different at 45. I think Poirier can take the McGregor shots and withhold the pressure from Conor McGregor in the first round, take the shots and come back in the later rounds in the second and third round and eventually finish him. I think the durability of Poirier is a massive factor, and it will pay once again, and he will take the win.
Yeah, but the Conor McGregor first round knockout is always possible, but we saw Dustin Poirier eat those big shots early last time. But if you remember Dustin Poirier's early days at 155, he got tagged by Michael Johnson and he got put to sleep. So is that a possibility? 100%. I'm very close to picking Conor McGregor to win this fight, but I don't want to fall for the star power, and I want to pick the guy who's tougher and will be more successful as the fight goes on.
Oh man, the main event is incredible, but the co-main event, this is a real close matchup. It's a really good fight. It's potentially a 50-50 we're talking about here, Oscar. Wonderboy, Gilbert Burns. Wonderboy has fought Gilbert Burns' best mate, Vicente Luque. Wonderboy put on a masterclass against Luque, and Burns, he stated that he had real disdain for Wonderboy in the octagon after he beat Luque because it's his best mate. He said he really wanted to beat him up there and then in the octagon. It's crazy. The emotions in this fight, it might not be shown, but Gilbert Burns really doesn't like Wonderboy, which is really weird to say because Wonderboy, as we know, he's the nicest guy in MMA. It's crazy. Do you think that could play a factor in this fight? Do you believe we saw Burns get emotional in his last fight against Kamaru Usman, fighting his good mate? He got emotional, he got carried away, and eventually the fight got away from him. Could that happen again, or do you reckon Burns is going to come in here more calculated?
I think Burns will be very explosive. If he's really emotional, he's going to get knocked out. There's no doubt about it. Stephen Thompson has struggled to put guys away, but in that Vicente Luque fight that you mentioned, he was very close to stopping that fight. But, he's a very nice guy. He'll help you up if he trips you. He's not that aggressive, but at the end of the day, with his technique, he can find these finishes. We really thought he was going to be in very deep trouble against Luque and Jeff Neal. Those guys have a really high knockdown rate. And this is going to be a dangerous fight for Wonderboy on the feet and on the ground. The problem with Gilbert Burns is he's not the best of wrestlers. So I don't think he can take down Stephen Thompson, and Stephen Thompson will pick him apart. And I think he will knock him down. Stephen Thompson is a bad matchup for Gilbert Burns on the feet, but so was Anthony Pettis was in the same spot too. He was not going to match up well with Wonderboy, but he lands some crazy Superman punch, and something deep down inside says Gilbert Burns could land something like that, but we've seen Wonderboy is very tough. He's got a knockdown against Darren Till, against Woodley, and he's fought through it. And even if there's a 10-8 round in there, I still think Wonderboy gets 2 rounds in this fight, and he'll look good doing it. And will this get him a title shot? I don't think so. We have Colby and Usman likely happening, and Leon Edwards likely waiting for the winner of that. And we also got Chiesa and Luque who knows? This division is kind of a mess, but I think Wonderboy will finally get the win he's been looking for, because the last two guys he fought were like up and comers. Gilbert Burns is the number 2 guy in the world, so this is the win Wonderboy's been waiting for, and he's gonna look mighty good doing it.
I agree with you. As you mentioned, the Wonderboy, the kickboxing of Wonderboy is unmatchable. It's incredible. Yes, he did get knocked out by Anthony Pettis, but that was kind of a little bit of a. I hope Pettis don't mind me saying, he's probably not even watching. A little bit of a Hail Mary in that fight. Yeah, it was a little bit of a Hail Mary in that fight. Pettis threw that Superman punch off the cage and it landed. Lucky for him, he got that crazy knockout in Pettis style, as we shall say. But yeah, Wonderboy in this fight, he has a clear advantage on the feet, and but you can't slouch on Burns, and I don't think Thompson will. But you can't let Burns land one punch on you in this fight, because he's got that power. He's got that, that power in his hands that could, put anyone's lights out. We saw it in the Damian-I fight with that the left hook over the top. We saw it multiple times in the Tyron Woodley fight. Yes, he never finished Woodley, but he put on a beating against the former champion. And Damian-I, we saw what happened there. And you mentioned before, he knocked down the champion. And it was a legitimate knockdown.
That was not scored as a knockdown. That was not scored as a knockdown, unfortunately. Although I personally did score as a knockdown. He had Kamaru Usman in all types of trouble, and then he decided to just lay on his back and let Kamaru recover. I think if he would have followed that up a little bit, we might be talking about Gilbert Burns' first title defense here. So who knows, man? This is a crazy sport. He was very close to finishing the champion, but he could not get his emotions under control. And I think he learned a priceless lesson in that fight. And even though he will be a better Gilbert Burns, I don't think he's good enough to beat Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who, even in his losses, he looks good.
100%, I agree with you. I think Wonderboy is going to put on an absolute clinic in this fight. Again, he did it against Luke, he did it against Jeff Neal, and he'll do it again against Burns. I think on the feet is it's just different level, and his takedown defense as well. He got taken down 5 times against Matt Brown, and ever since he's learned his lesson. He worked on his takedown defense, and he's come back looking like an NCAA Division I wrestler. He looks incredible. His takedown defense is. It's really good. It's really underrated, but I feel like Burns won't be able to take Thompson down in this fight. The only way he gets him down is a knockdown. He follows it up, but Thompson, I think he's going to stick to the range as he usually does. Pump out his jab, pump out his 1-2. The kicks will be a massive factor in this fight, and we know he likes the kicks. He's a kickboxer. He's 58-0. So it's going to be a good fight. This is a good matchup for Thompson, and I think he takes it. I think this is going to be a decision win by Thompson.
I agree with you. Stephen Thompson says he's not going to look for a knockout. He's going to wait for it to come to him, and unless Gilbert Burns is not defensively sound, Stephen Thompson probably gets a unanimous decision here, and he's going to be right there in line for a title shot. Both he and Luke are the 2 guys in the top 5 that Kamaru Usman has yet to fight, so that fight is definitely on the table, especially if the negotiations go south with Colby and Leon. Yeah,
interesting to see what happens. Hopefully they do make the Usman versus Colby fight. I think it's got to be next, surely, at this point.
Yeah. The only one saying it's not happening is Usman and his manager. Those are the 2 guys saying it's not going to happen. But Colby and Dana have been on board with it for a while.
Moving on to another fight in the main card between 2 big heavyweights. We're talking about Taiwasa versus Greg Hardy. A lot of people were disappointed that this was on the main card. I think this is a good fight. Should it be on the main card? No. I'm not too sure about that. There are definitely plenty better fights that are on the prelims. We're talking about Royal Hall versus Ilya Latupia. I think that's a great fight. That should definitely be on the main card. But it's the heavyweights. And you know how the UFC are with the heavyweight fights. They love to put them in the main event or on the main card. It's the way it is. I don't know why, but unfortunately, that's how it is. But it's going to be a good fight. It's going to be bombs away. And I think I speak for everyone in the MMA community. We probably all want Taiwasa to win this fight.
Yeah. We all want to see a shoey after the fight in front of that sold out Vegas crowd. That would be a wonderful moment. But the thing is, Greg Hardy is huge. It's really hard to knock the guy out. Marcin Tybura got it done by ground and pound. And we've seen Taiwasa fight later in the fight, and he does not look good at all. In the Andre Arlovsky fight, that fight was fairly one-sided on Tuivasa's side, but he could not finish Arlovsky first. Arlovsky early, so he just looked really bad as the fight went on. And I think that'll be the case here. I think Tai Tuivasa will have success early. I think he could probably rock Greg Hardy and beat up his leg with some serious low kicks, but I think Greg Hardy will not quit on himself here, and he'll fight his way to unanimous decision loss. I just don't think he's UFC caliber, really. Greg Hardy, of course, he came in from the NFL. He got a big contract, but he does not have the skills to compete at the highest level. And we saw that in the Marcin Tybura fight where he got taken down and he turtled up. It was a bad look. And I would not be shocked if Tai Tuivasa went for a takedown later in this fight. He's been training at Robert Whittaker's gym for some wrestling, and I really think he has that tool in his pocket against the guy in Greg Hardy who's very inexperienced.
Yeah, this is going to be an absolute firefight. The first minute of this fight, all I'm saying is don't go to the toilet before this fight. You do not want to miss this fight. This fight is going to be bananas, and I'm expecting a finish in this fight. And which way am I heading though? As you mentioned, Greg Hardy he's a big boy. He was talking in the pre-fight. He was talking about Lewis and how fat he was. Yeah, Greg Hardy was the only guy to ever miss the heavyweight limit. The guy is huge.
Exactly. Yeah. He's a gargantuan man. But Tai Tuivasa is not a small guy either. And I don't know who has more power here, but this is one of those fights where everybody's hoping for a knockout, but it doesn't happen because the guys just gas out trying to go for it. So I think this will be a fight where I think the crowd will be booing in the third round because the guys are just laying on each other. In Tuivasa's fight against Stefan Struve, he was beating him up in the clinch, and is being conservative with his energy. I think that's going to be the same effort from Tai Tuivasa here, but I think Greg Hardy's more durable than Stefan Struve.
Yeah. What is your prediction? Who are you going with? Before we get to you, I'll quickly fire mine off. I'm going to go with Tai Tuivasa. I'm going to go with knockout in round number 2. I think Tai Tuivasa is going to land some shots in the first round. I think that Greg Hardy, will start to get used to it. But I think both men are going to be really, really tired in that second round because they've just gave everything in that first round. And I see Tai Tuivasa just landing a couple shots and Greg Hardy just not having any energy left and getting the finish. And am I biased? Probably, because I do want to see Tai Tuivasa win. I like Tai Tuivasa a lot. He's a great character. He's a great fighter. And that's how I'm seeing it, and that's how I'd like it to go.
Yeah, that's how I'd like it to go, but unfortunately, I just see these guys being too tough and too tired later. So this is going to be an unanimous decision win for Tai Tuivasa, and I think he could get a ranked opponent with a win here.
Maybe if he gets past this one, Tom Aspinall, that would make a lot of sense. But I'm not too sure if Tom Aspinall has a date and a fight. I know I've seen it on his Instagram
actively. I know that.
Yeah. Well, moving on to a good fight on the actually, wrong one. I'm on the wrong one. That's it. Moving on to a main card fight between a women's bantamweights. Ariana Aldana versus Yana Kunkitskaya, competing in the women's bantamweight division. Who are you going with in this one, Oscar?
Yeah, I'm going with Ariana Aldana. a lot of people are betting on this fight to go to a judge's decision, but I disagree here. I think Irina Aldana has the power to put away Yana Kunitskaya. If you remember Yana Kunitskaya's fight against Chris Cyborg, she got completely smashed. There's no shame in that. Chris Cyborg was an absolute killer, and she made her opponents, look pathetic really when she fought him. And against Aspen Ladd, Aspen Ladd has way less power than Chris Cyborg, and she was able to get a third round knockout in that fight. So I don't see why Irene Aldana can't get it done here with a great gazelle punch, the same gazelle punch she used to knock out who was it? My goodness, it's slipping my Ketlin Vieira. Ketlin Vieira got flatlined. It's rare that you see knockouts of that early and that clean in the women's division. And Irene Aldana is one of the few that can do it here. If you know how Yana Kunitskaya fights, you know that she does not care about the boo. She does not care that people are, just completely bored watching her do her dirty boxing with her opponents back against the cage. It's not pretty. It's it's just hoping to get a judge's decision and score points. And I don't know if the judges will reward her that much. In her last fight, she was very close to losing until she got some good strikes going and opened up Ketlin Vieira. That's a common opponent they had, and Irene Aldana's just more aggressive. And at the end of the day, she's not going to get finished at all. In the Holly Holm fight, that was probably her worst performance of her career. Her game plan didn't work, and she was unable to adjust. And that was just a bad night for her. She had a broken foot. She had not fully recovered from COVID. And man, that was just not the best version of Irene Aldana. I think we'll see a much better version of Aldana. I think she gets a knock here in the third round.
I agree with you with how Aldana, wasn't the best performance against Holly Holm, recovering from COVID, the broken foot. Her foot was a balloon, shall we say? But I feel like we're going to see. I'm going to go with a decision in this fight. It's always hard for me to bet on a finish in a women's fight. But talk about women's getting a finish unless you're Chris Cyborg or Amanda Nunes or Valentina Shevchenko. But obviously Aldana has a lot of power in them hands. We saw that against Caitlin Vieira, as you mentioned. And but I'm going to go with a decision this fight, and I'm going with Irina Aldana. I think she has enough to get it done in this fight. I think she's got more ways to win as well, in my opinion. And I feel like she'll the pressure and the power will be too much for Yana Kunitskaya. We'll probably see a knockdown, and we'll probably see a knockdown in this fight. We saw Kunitskaya, curl up in a ball when she got hit by a Cyborg. But does Aldana have, the Cyborg power? I don't think anyone has the Cyborg power. Probably not even Nunes, but Nunes has just got probably the better technique out of Cyborg and Nunes. But this is a tough matchup to pick, but I'm going to go with Aldana. I'm going to go with decision.
Yeah, this is going to be if this goes Aldana's way, this will be a better fight than people think it will be, because Aldana, she's got enough fight of the night on her record when she fought Pudilova. That was a really good fight if you haven't seen it. So yeah, that was a good fight, and Aldana is a high volume fighter, and Kunitskaya is not. She just likes to get opponents in a clinch and do dirty boxing, not land a ton of significant strikes. And that fight should be very intriguing. And Kunitskaya has called out Misha Tate if she wins that fight, so that would be very interesting to see, and that would have major title implications. The next fight, I don't think it has title implications, but I do think this is just purely a showcase spot for Sugar Sean O'Malley here. Nobody knew who Chris Moutinho was when he signed up for this fight. Nobody.
No disrespect
Not
to
a
Chris.
single. Yeah. Chris Moutinho is a 9-4 fighter. He trains out of the New England cartel with Tyson Chartier, Calvin Cater, Rob Font. Those guys are great, but obviously Chris Moutinho is not as good as those guys, and Sugar Sean is on a whole different level. This guy's such an accurate striker. He likes to bully his opponents, and he's predicting a second round knockout here. And I'll agree with him. There's no reason to pick Chris Moutinho in this fight unless you think he gets some crazy, unless he gives Sean O'Malley some drought foot. Even then, I still think Sean O'Malley can win this fight. Sean O'Malley has so many advantages in this fight. It's crazy. And it would be crazy for anybody to pick Chris Moutinho, even for fun. I just don't see a world where this guy beats Sean O'Malley. This is like kind of like a boxing tune-up fight where you get a guy prepped up for his big title fight before the with some tomato can. I'm not calling Moutinho a tomato can, but I don't think he's UFC caliber. This is not a good look for the UFC to be putting on this type of matchup. This is 100% a lock. I think Sugar Sean plays with his food the entire fight, and he says he wants a spectacular knockout that'll get him a performance of the night bonus, and there's no reason that won't happen. And this is obviously my most confident pick on this entire card.
Yeah, Chris Moutinho has been finished twice via strikes and twice via submission. So it's interesting to see how he gets on in this matchup. But is O'Malley? Was he a minus 800? If I want to say.
I've seen him at minus 900. It could be minus 1,000 by fight night. I think Chris Moutinho is in the Brandon Davis position when he fought Zabit Magomedsharipov on short notice. If you remember that, nobody was giving him a chance, and I think that this will be the same scenario where Sugar Sean wins any way he wants.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. This is it says on Tapology he's a minus 9,000, which is it's ridiculous. If you put $100 on Chris Moutinho, you're getting $590 on $590 back if I'm correct.
Yeah. This is a fight that should not be taking place. It's only because Luis Smolka got a staph infection, and Ricky Simone could not make 135 pounds at short notice. Very unfortunate. I hope Sugar Sean realizes that this fight really doesn't count, in my opinion. This fight he should win, and sometimes that's the toughest fight for guys. They're expected to win, and sometimes we can get to them. But this is perfect card placement for the UFC. They want to open the card up with a cool little knockout that'll get the casual fans riled up. It makes a lot of sense. And Sugar Sean's going to look like $1 million. He's going to get that $50,000 bonus, and he's going to call out a Cody Garbrandt or somebody of that ilk, and he'll probably get the fight. He's a big star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's, as you mentioned, he's a huge star, and he was talking about that in the pre-fight presser. He was talking about how he learned from Conor McGregor, took tips from him, and kind of made it work for himself. And he's done a great job. Whether you like him or not, he's done a great job to get the fans to love him or hate him. That's what he was probably meant to do. He's marketed himself very, very well. Even when he lost to Chita Vera, he's gone about that very in a different way to some probably, and people hate on him because of that. But it keeps his name in their mouths, and that's what he wants. And if he's fighting, whether you like him or not, you watch him because he's an entertainer, and he's a phenomenal fighter. But after this, it has to be a step up in competition. It's beyond a point where I'm getting tired of the matchups what are happening. Yes, Chris Moutinho, it's not his fault, but I definitely want to see a top 15, top 10 fight after this. It definitely makes sense. Maybe the winner or the loser of Casey Kenny versus Yudong Song, that would make a lot of sense next. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Sure. Sugar Sean is talking a big game. He claims he can beat anybody in this bantamweight division, which I think that's an incorrect prediction. There's a bunch of killers that'll probably have his way with him. Guys like Merab Dvalishvili, who he purposely has ducked because of they're just bad matchups for him. And I would like to see him get tested. And I think Ricky Simone would have been the guy to test him, possibly humble him. the guy's taking private jets from Vegas to, from Arizona to Vegas. The fame is getting to his head. He's hung out with the Paul brothers, man. This guy was, I'll say, he was a little fanboy around those guys, man. He was a little starstruck, and I think he will be humbled one day. But Moutinho is 100% not the guy to do it to him, and he'll look. All the Sugar Sean fans that think he's undefeated and this and that, he'll look as good as you can look in that fight.
100% agree with you. A KO from Sugar Sean in round number 1. That's the only way I see it. Unless he doesn't.
Yeah. Originally, I said round 1.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, I said round 1, but he specifically said round 2 at the media day interview, and he says he wants to hurt Moutinho, and then he wants to go for some crazy finish. That's specifically what he said. So might take him a little while to tag Moutinho, and he'll just play with his food and look spectacular doing it.
Well, you said spectacular, and the prelims are nothing but spectacular.
Better than the main card, if you ask me.
Yeah, 100%. It's incredible fights. And the main event on the prelims, Max Griffin versus Carlos Condit, the natural born killer, is back, and he's returning against Max Griffin after a win as well against Court McGee, and now Max Griffin looks to carry on the momentum after his co-main event win versus
Kenan Song.
Kenan Song. It was
Carlos
a knockout
beat Matt Brown.
Yeah. Oh, Matt Brown. Was it not Court McGee too?
Yeah.
Or was that one before?
Yeah. He beat McGee first, and then he beat Matt Brown by unanimous decision.
That's it. Yes. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah. Oh, that's it. Yeah. Well, Max Griffin versus Carlos Condit. Who have you got, Oscar?
Yeah, I got Max Griffin here. This is just an age pick here. Carlos Condit has been through it all. He was recently on a 5-fight skid, and I picked him to lose to Court McGee because Court McGee is a wrestler, and he did not attempt a single takedown in that fight. So I looked really dumb with that prediction. And after that, he fights Matt Brown, Matt Brown's at the tail end of his career. This guy's nearly done. Of course, he showed that he wasn't all the way done by knocking out a younger Diego Lima, but that was a bad version of Matt Brown. The guy gassed out early. He was hoping to out-wrestle Carlos Condit, and then Carlos Condit turned the tables on him and out-wrestled him and dominated, really. So that's not the competition that Carlos Condit needs to beat for me to think maybe he could fight a guy on the cusp of being in the top 15, but other than that, I think he's just here for fun fights, and this is one of them. But Max Griffin, I believe he's in his prime right now, man. His striking has never looked better, and he's really his power is finding a home these days. He punched the guy's ear off, man, and after that, he flatlined Song Kenan, who was a power puncher himself. He's looking as dangerous as ever, and Carlos Condit has one of the most underrated chins of all time. This guy has never gotten knocked out in his 40-plus fights, and he's barely ever gotten knocked down. So this is a fight where we'll see both guys' chins tested, but I think Max Griffin has just going to be a little quicker, and his punches will have more power on them, and that'll sway the judges. Neither guy's getting finished here. They're very tough, and Max Griffin should get a unanimous decision here.
Yeah, I'm going with the same pick with you in this one, and I'm going with a unanimous decision as well. Yes, we saw his power in the last fight, but as you mentioned, Carlos Conde, he's got one of the best chins in the history of MMA, and this is going to definitely pay a factor in this fight. I think Max Griffin is going to hit him with a lot of shots, and but the durability is going to be shown on display in this fight. But Max Griffin, I'm going with Max Griffin, unanimous decision. But the next fight, when this got announced, I went crazy because it's just fireworks. You know, this fight here is going to perform unless we see a patient Michel Piero and he wants to get the decision win. He could totally ruin this fight. But Nico Price is an animal. He's going to drag him into a dogfight, and that's the only way I see it going. This is my pick for fight of the night. This is going to be an incredible fight. But which way do you see it going, Oscar?
I see this going in the way of Michelle Pereira because we've seen a more disciplined approach from Michelle Pereira in his fights against Zilum Amadayev and then Chaos Williams. I really thought Chaos Williams was going to put Michelle Pereira to sleep. Pereira's already been knocked out by Dushko Todorovic, and Nico Price 100% has the power to put him away as well, but Pereira fought smarter last time, but those two disciplined performances, those were not in front of a crowd. Those were in the Apex Arena. And before that, what did we see against Diego Sanchez? We saw that all, he was destroying Diego, but he really could have finished that fight earlier, if you ask me. He was kind of toying with him, and you can't toy with Nico Price. Nico Price, if you mess around for 1 second, this guy will put your lights out. He did it to Randy Brown. He did it to Tim Means. He did it to
James
who
Vick.
else? James Vick. Yes, those knockouts were out of nowhere. He was in a compromising position against Randy Brown. He was on bottom, and Randy was in side control. He landed some hammer fists, puts him away. James Vick has taken him down, and Vick gets up and he gets caught with an up kick and put out. In the Tim Means fight, he was getting pieced up. I thought Tim Means is on his way to a finish here, and he cracked Tim Means and put him away. So can he do that to Michelle Pereira? If Pereira starts slapping him or starts doing flips, 100% he can. I think Nico Price gets one knockdown here, and Pereira will recover, and he's not going to mess around again after that. So Pereira, he's going to look really good in this fight. He will do something silly because the crowd will bait him into it. I guarantee you that he's never seen a crowd like this before, and it might get into his head. It could cost him the fight, but I think he's made enough changes where he can win this fight. And I also think he can submit Nico Price. He's a legitimate black belt, man. He's got takedowns against Chaos Williams, and he submitted Zilma Madaev. He can 100% do that, but I think he'll win in unanimous decision. But it could be a draw because Nico Price has got a ton of power and he could get a 10-8.
Yeah, that's the way I'm going with. I'm going to go with Nico Price in this fight. Both men are very unorthodox. As we know, Michelle Pereira loves to do his flips, his jumps off the cage and all sorts. Just go watch his debut versus Tristan Connolly. Yes, he did win that fight, but that's the showcase of to show what he can do if he does want to do it. He's an entertainer, but in the recent fights he's slowed down a little bit, but. Will the disciplined version of Michelle Pereira be able to beat Nico Price? Yes, on his day, he does look good. It did look good against Chaos Williams, looked good against Salim Amadayev, but I think Nico Price is going to catch him with a punch, and we're going to see him get knocked out unconscious. He has been knocked out unconscious in the past, and he's going all the way down to 170 pounds. And if you don't know who Michelle Pereira is, he's a huge, huge guy, and he's missed weight before at 170 pounds. And the weight cut, this could play a massive factor, and this could be the determined fight where he moves up in weight, in my opinion. I feel like we're going to see Nico Price catch him with a punch, knock him out unconscious, and Michelle Pereira announces the weight cut's getting too much for him, and we see him move up to 185 pounds, do a similar sort of situation with Darren Till. And but Michelle Pereira has all the tools to get it done, but so does Nico Price. And all Nico Price is one shot, and I think that one shot's going to come, and it's going to be a knockout.
Nico Price has also made massive changes in his life after the no contest / draw against Donald Cerrone. I thought he was going to run over Donald Cerrone in that fight, but his cardio kind of failed him. He wasn't as aggressive as he usually is, and that was because he was smoking all week. He admitted to it at the media day. The guy was chill as can be in there, man. He did not have a fire lit under him. He had a laid back approach. And since the suspension from USADA, and now of course that doesn't matter at all. He stopped smoking, and stopping smoking can 100% improve your focus. And Nico Price is he's going to be a little more aggressive this time. He's not gonna be as laid back here. So maybe that increased aggression could lead to bigger things for Nico. Nico says he has the belt in mind when he stops smoking, so yeah, that could be a really good career move for Nico. So good to see that, and even if Nico loses, I think we're going to see a better Nico Price.
Yeah, just one tip from me on this fight is don't blink. This could be over in a matter of seconds. Yeah, 1 minute you look away and there could be a flying knockout or a Superman punch or just anything special can happen in this fight. This one is definitely going to deliver, and it's definitely my pick for fight tonight. And talking about another fight, which is incredible. On the prelims, we're talking about Ryan Hall versus Ila I don't know how to say his second name. We're going to call him Ila Tupuria. We're going to call him that then. Ilya versus Ryan Hall. Oh, man, this one's going to deliver. This is going to deliver.
Yeah. How long have we been waiting to see Ryan Hall fight? Guys don't want to fight him, man.
24 months.
Everybody's stepping him. Yeah. The guys who said yes were Danny Ige and Ricardo Lamas. Things did not work out there, and his last win was in 2019 against Darren Elkins. And a lot of people, I personally feel, are overrating Ryan Hall's abilities. You know, he's kind of become a meme in the MMA community. They're saying nobody wants to fight him, this and that. But if you look at the guys he's beaten, Gray Maynard, Over the Hill, Darren Elkins, you know, he's been on a skid as of before his recent win. Before that, Artem Lobov, you know, losing record. Not the best of competition he's been fighting, to be honest. And if you look at the Ilia Topuria side, you can say the same right there. Damon Jackson, you know, he was a huge underdog in that Mirsad Bektic fight and that fight as well. And he kind of had us a padded record, but this is one of the cases where I can excuse the padded record because I believe his abilities are very elite. This guy is a Spanish Georgian with crazy wrestling. He's one of the few black belts in Spain, and his boxing is phenomenal. The body work he did to Damon Jackson was astonishing. This is not too often that you see that kind of body work in MMA, and I think he's gonna light up Ryan Hall here. Ryan Hall does not care about getting taken down. He throws you know, some silly kicks, to be honest, and he just hopes to get you on the ground and control you and eventually submit you. Topuria can handle himself on the ground, if you ask me. A very aggressive black belt, and yeah, Topuria should get a second round KO here. Ryan Hall's never been finished, but man, he goes hands down, and Topuria has the power to put him away. Not to mention Ryan Hall's like 37 now, so he can't have the best of chins either. So it's going to be a bad night in the office for Ryan Hall, and he's going to regret taking this fight because he was once in the rankings, and due to inactivity got taken out, and Topuria's 2-0 in the UFC. So this will be a tremendous night for Topuria.
Yeah, Ryan Hall has never been the most active of fighters. If you look at his, you know, his topology, he's never really stayed active. But you know, if you look at his record, his only loss. Well, he's other than his debut. He's lost in the Ultimate Fighter. Came to Sol Rogers in hands of the Brit. Sol Rogers, and I just wanted to bring that up because Sol Rogers is my guy, and he beat Ryan Hall. But yeah, the 24 months it's been since we last saw Ryan Hall, and he said he doesn't believe in ring rust, but it could definitely really play a factor. Who was I talking to? Sean Woodson. Sean Woodson didn't believe in ring rust. He was on the side of him and Dominic Cruz. Dominic Cruz, they believe that ring rust is not a thing. It's all a myth. But Sean Woodson said Dominic Cruz is on his own on that one now because he felt the ring rust in his last fight against Yusuf Salau. He said the ring rust was definitely a factor, and he felt like the amount of time he took off was not good for the fight. And 24 months is a long time. It's a long time, and but guys like Ryan Hall, who's never stayed active in his career, and he's still won. These guys, you know, they're always, you know, staying perfect. But this one's a really hard fight to pick. I'm not too sure who I want to go with in this one. You talked about Ilar and how good he is. His boxing. You talked about his wrestling, being the only few BJJ black belts in Spain. This guy's incredible. He's a good prospect. Only 24 years of age, and if he does lose against Ryan Hall, I wouldn't mind it because, to be honest, because he's very young in his career, and it's a great lesson for Ilyar to get really early on in his career, and that's the way I'm going. I think Ryan Hall is going to get a submission in this fight, and I think Ilyar is going to suffer his first loss. But it'll be the best thing that's going to happen to him. He's only 24 years of age, and he's going to learn from this fight. But we can never count him out because his boxing's incredible, and his power, his body work, his wrestling, his BJJ. Oh man, this is such a hard fight to pick, but I'm going to go with Ryan Hall.
Yeah. This is a fight I don't expect to see a just decision. This next fight has a high probability for a finish between Dricus du Plessis and Trevin Giles. DDP, we'll call him. He has all finishes when it comes to his wins. And Trevin Giles, he beat an undefeated Georgian in Roman Delice, and he was a sizable underdog in that fight, and I really thought the undefeated Delice would be able to outmuscle him and look spectacular in that fight. But yeah, he was just busy in that fight and he did more damage. And du Plessis in his debut against Marcus Perez, I really wasn't impressed before the knockout. Perez was actually doing quite well in that fight, but he got a little too silly with that spinning back fist and he got cracked behind the ear. And it was lights out for him. Du Plessis can put a lot of guys away. His submission skills are pretty good as well. He's a true finisher. Giles has been he's been inconsistent. He fought James Krause. James Krause had 24 hours notice for that fight, and he had better cardio in the third round. That was a terrible look for him. And honestly, I thought that fight might have gone the wrong way in that split decision. So Giles has been looking better. His jab is one of the better jabs in the middleweight division, and his experience in the UFC, I think it's enough to beat Dricus du Plessis by split decision. This will be a really close fight, but I think Giles is going to look a little better in this fight and might land the bigger shots.
100% agree with you in this fight. As you mentioned, Giles in his last few fights, he's looking much better. And in the debut of DDP, before the knockout, as you mentioned, it wasn't looking too great. But Perez, through that, the lazy, what do you want to call it? The lazy Yair Rodriguez spinning, whatever that was, and he paid the price for that and got knocked out. But I don't see a knockout in this fight. I'm going to go with decision. I'm going to go on the scorecards. And I think, as you mentioned, you talked about a split decision, and that's the way I was going to go too. This is going to be a close fight, but I think Giles is going to have enough to get it done. And I think, as you mentioned, the experience factor, that could play a huge factor in this fight. And I 100% agree with you on this one. But there's not too much to talk about in this fight, but I think Giles gets this done. And I see it going to the scorecards. But a fight that I also see going to the scorecards, Maia versus I. This one is definitely, in my opinion, going to go to the scorecards. I'm not too sure about yous, but I'm going to go in favor of Jessica I. Not Jessica I. Jennifer Maia. I mean, I think Jennifer Maia is going to win this fight. We saw in the Valentina Shevchenko, she won a round versus the dominant champion, and we thought Valentina Shevchenko had a bad performance against Jennifer Maia because Jennifer Maia won a round, which is crazy. It makes no sense. Valentina Shevchenko was dominant versus Jennifer Maia, but because Jennifer Maia won a round, we thought Valentina Shevchenko had a bad performance. It's incredible because how dominant Valentina Shevchenko was in that fight, but Jennifer Maia won a round. She shows how good she was, and she showed a little bit. Valentina Shevchenko is vulnerable. And Valentina Shevchenko put on a statement against Jessica Andrade because she wanted to prove that she's well-rounded. But I think Jennifer Maia takes this fight. I think she gets it to the ground and looks for a submission, and she gets. I don't think she gets a submission, but she'll be hunting for the submission the whole night, and she'll be unsuccessful. But who knows? I think Jennifer Maia gets this one done.
Yeah, Jessica I is hated by a lot of people in the MMA community. They think she complains a lot. And honestly, I'm going to be on her side for the fight she had against Cynthia Calvillo where she missed weight. A lot of people were trashing on her, but she said that she didn't even know that she was lactose intolerant. She had major intestinal issues, and they were literally, she had no control over that. So that was a major issue that she needed to fix. And after that, she fought Joanne Calderwood, and she did make weight for that fight. And she did not look great in that fight. She got beat up in that fight. Joanne Calderwood landed over 100 significant strikes. And Jessica I's only way to win that fight really was to take her down. That didn't work. And then she resorted to dirty boxing against the fence. And that just was not enough to sway the judges. And it's probably going to be the case here as well against Jennifer Maia. Maia is primarily a striker. A lot of people talk about her grappling after the Valentina fight, but she's gone for 4 takedowns in her 6 UFC fights. The goal for her is really not to take it to the ground. Even in the Joanne Calderwood fight, she didn't initiate the grappling. Joanne Calderwood, I don't know what she was thinking. She took her down and got stuck in an armbar. Could that happen here? Short could, but Jessica has not gotten submitted since 2014, so that was 7 years ago. So I don't think it happens here. I think Jennifer Maia, she might have a little more pop on her punches here. She's probably physically stronger, and being physically stronger in the women's division, that can really do a lot for you. Yana Kunz.
Ooh. We might have just lost Oscar on Oscar. You still here? And he's gone. Well, that American Wi-Fi is not paying in handy. We were talking about the Jennifer Maia versus Jessica Eye matchup. Incredible matchup. As mentioned, I think Jennifer Maia, won that round against Valentina Shevchenko, which was incredible because no one saw Jennifer Maia having success in that fight, and she managed to win a round, which is incredible because we talked about how dominant Valentina Shevchenko is, and she managing to win a round was incredible. And we do have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Oscar. I'm not too sure what happened there, but he's back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened either, but I was saying Yana Kunitskaya was able to out-muscle her opponents against the clinch, and that strength is a major tool, and Maia was able to outmuscle the champ Valentina Shevchenko. And to be honest, I don't think anybody beats Valentina Shevchenko. Maybe Tatiana Suarez can do it, just maybe. But besides that, it's almost a win if you win a round against her. So Maia did win the round against her, and since then, I guess she has a ton of confidence, and I think that'll lead her to victory by unanimous decision here. Probably split decision because this is a Jessica Eye fight. That tends to happen.
Jessica ain't too bothered nowadays. She knows she has that that exclusive website nowadays. If you know what I mean. But if you want to go see that, go on her Twitter, and you can get all the details there. A great fight. A middleweight is Amari Akhmedov versus Brad Tavares. It's a great fight in the middleweight division, and I'm very looking forward to this. This is the 3rd fight on the evening, and we've got Brad Tavares. This honestly, is incredible.
This could be in the Greg Hardy Tuivasa spot. That's how good this card is.
Mm-hmm. Brad Tavares, off the top of my head, I'm not too sure, but he recently came off a win
over Antonio Carlos Jr.
That's the one, yeah. Who's now competing in PFL?
And that was on the Poirier McGregor 2 card back in January.
How lucky is he been then?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
so he got on the number 2, and now he's on number 3. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. Who have you got on this one?
Yeah, I'm very confident that Brad Tavares walks out with the win here. Akhmedov is a notorious gasser. This guy looks really bad in the third round. And yeah, I think Brad Tavares is a much better striker here. He has the much cleaner boxing. Omari, of course, has those winging shots that can crack guys. But yeah, Brad Tavares looked like $1 million against ACJ. ACJ was attempting a ton of takedowns, and he was doing everything right when it came to takedown defense. He did get taken down a couple times, but ACJ was unable to get a lot of control time against Omari Akhmedov, who is a Dagestani a master of sport in wrestling. This guy's no joke, but you know he's not the best submission artist against Tom Breeze. Let's be honest, Tom Breeze was kind of looking for a way out there. I don't know what was going on when he was in that arm triangle. He was out, he was in. I don't know what was going on there. That was a strange situation. I thought it was absolutely bananas that Omari was an underdog in that fight. And I made a couple bucks betting him there, but I won't bet him against Brad Tavares, who will beat him up and maybe he gets a third round finish. But I keep on saying that when I'm talking about Omari Akhmedov, but the guy is toughs it out against Chris Weidman. He was very close to getting submitted, and he just toughed it out. So I think he can tough it out against Brad Tavares. He probably wins a round here because once he gets you on your back, it's very hard to get up. So even he won a round against Chris Weidman. He took down the All-American, one of the best wrestlers in UFC history. And Brad Tavares, he actually has a wrestling background of his own, and the striking will lead him to victory here. He'll look really good doing it too. I suspect. This will get him more. This will get him more respect after the Edmund Shabazian fight. A lot of people are saying maybe he should, stop fighting ranked guys, but he'll look good in this fight.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Brad Tavares is going to get this one done. You mentioned that Omari, his gas tank, not the greatest. He's only got like a round or two rounds in him. But you mentioned the Chris Weidman fight. He did have success, and he took down the All-American, which is a great achievement on itself. And then against Tom Breeze, Tom Breeze is a great fighter. He recently got released from the UFC because I'm not too sure. He had a lot of problems. Anxiety and stuff like that, and unfortunately he did get released. I hope the best for him. I wish nothing but the future. Hopefully he comes out better, and maybe we see him back in the UFC down the line, or something like that. That would be great to see. But for now, Omari Akhmedov looked great and got that submission win. But I'm going to go Brad Tavares in this fight. I think he'll be able to cancel out the wrestling. I think his striking will be better in this fight, and that's the way I see it going. I think the striking of Brad Tavares will be the factor in this fight, which wins him the fight.
Yeah, I agree with you. Omari Akhmedov is no joke. He was a former welterweight, and I think the move to middleweight was the right choice. The guy was able to get a draw with Marvin Vettori. He was on a 6-fight unbeaten streak before that one-man fight. I don't think he's getting the respect he deserves. He's a Dagestani master of sport in wrestling. That's no joke. But at the end of the day, his striking is not the best, and it'll probably cause him to lose a lot of fights, including that one. And moving on, we have Zhalgas Zumagulov against Jerome Rivera. This fight is a must win for Jerome Rivera. This guy he's one of those cases where taking short notice fights is not rewarding. He's no Kevin Holland. This guy probably needs a full camp to do well, especially when he's so young. The guy, he won on the Contender Series by unanimous decision, and Dana said, that's not enough. I don't think you're ready for the UFC. And what happens? Tyson Nam needs an opponent on short notice. They bring it in, and he gets flatlined in the second round in September. And then after that, the bad luck continued. He's gotten finished by strikes twice. He got dominated by Francisco Figueiredo. So he's not looked good at all. A lot of people say he's not UFC caliber. I just think he's a little young and underdeveloped. I think he will be UFC caliber. And Zhalgas Zumagulov will look spectacular here. He's a 3-1 favorite for a reason. His wrestling is much superior. And on the feet, I think Jerome Rivera gives them a little bit of issues on the feet because it's just so tall. and his reach is going to be a factor here. But if Zhalgas has the right game plan, he'll just out wrestle him for 3 rounds. In the Amir Al-Balji fight, I thought Al-Balji was struggling a little bit, but he was the guy with the better skill set that night. I think Al-Balji is very good, and Zumagulov, he made that fight close, and I respect him for that. Also, who was the guy he had a close split decision with? Paiva, Julian Paiva. I thought that was a very close fight as well, and Paiva, he's like a 20-2 fighter. That's no joke. So I think Zumagulov is under-respected in the flyweight division. And a guy in Jerome Rivera, who's 0-3 in the UFC, kind of finished multiple times. I think Zumagulov wins unanimous decision, and he's going to be dominant in this one too.
Yep, 100%. There's no easy way to say that, but Zumagulov is going to win this fight, and he's going to be dominant. You mentioned that he fought Paiva, got the split decision, and Paiva's now fighting Kyler Phillips, so that shows you know where he's gone. I'm pretty sure it is Paiva who's fighting Kyler Phillips, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that bantamweight.
So that it shows that he shouldn't hold that that loss and under his skin or anything like that, or disregard himself. But Paiva is a great fighter, and he's fighting a top 10 bantamweight next. And but I think Zumagulov gets this one done. Pretty safe, plain and simple. You pretty much ticked all the boxes in what he said. Zumagulov gets this one done. Decision against Jerome Rivera. And moving on to the first fight even, we got Amadorski versus Jazong, who we're going to call him, who used to fight at heavyweight, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. His last fight was against Rashad Coulter at heavyweight. No, at light heavyweight.
Yeah, and he's lost to some of the worst UFC fighters of all time. I believe those guys went like 0-4 and 0-3 respectively. That's not a good look at all. And on top of that, he has a 3-2 record. I don't care who you are. If you have a 3-2 record, don't belong in the UFC. That's not a good look for the UFC. And Amadorski, he has a really good record, but if you would have seen his fight against Sean Phillips, you would have never guessed he had that record. He had a terrible game plan against Sean Phillips. He's not the best of wrestlers, but Sean Phillips, he's not good at all on the ground. And what does he do? He brawls with Sean Phillips. He gets knocked out in 20 seconds. So not good at all. He does have the one-punch knockout power on his side, but Jazong, we'll call him, he does not have a really shady chin or anything. He fought at heavyweight and light heavyweight. Those divisions are probably not where he should be. Then he got caught by USADA. I've been seeing him work out at the Chinese Performance Institute, and he's been working on his wrestling. And I think he's going to grind out Amadorski here. I think Amadorski only has a couple rounds to win this, and after that, he's going to look really sloppy. And I think these guys are not UFC caliber, but I think Jazong probably just has enough of the wrestling to get it done here. I'm just banking on potential here. There's really not a lot of substance behind this pick, but I just think Amadorski should not that good on the ground, so he probably loses this.
Yeah, I agree with you. Think about how long this how do I pronounce this? Jazong, I'm going to call him Jazong. How long he's been away from the game. We talked about Ryan Hall, his layoff, but Jazong has had a longer there for almost. We talked about almost 3 years, 2 years and 7 months since his last fight against Rashad Coulter. And you mentioned his losses against Rashad Coulter and Cyril Asker, and you mentioned could have possibly be the 2 worst fighters in UFC history, which is not too far off. You're correct in that statement. But he used to fight heavyweight. He's dropped his weight down. He was at heavyweight, went to light heavyweight, and now he's at middleweight. So it's interesting to see how he looks at middleweight. But does he have enough to get it done? This is that's the factor we're looking at. You mentioned he's been working on his wrestling over at the China PI. So that maybe is he going to go in there with looking for a wrestling wrestling game plan. I'm not too sure. But I'm not too sure on this one. I'm really not too sure. It's difficult.
These guys are so low level that I just think anything can happen here. That's why I'm picking a guy who is 3-2 to pick a guy. If Jazong had a really shady chin, I would pick Amadorski here without much hesitation. But he's never gotten knocked out, and he fought up 2 weight classes and avoided the knockout loss. So that's why I think he can survive the early flurry and get a unanimous decision. But there's really no confidence or substance behind that pick. But a fight that truly has substance in history is Robbie Lawler having a rematch against Nick Diaz. What are your thoughts on this? This is exactly what every fan who craves violence in the octagon, this is what we want, man. This is exactly what we needed in our lives in 2020. Nick Diaz back in the octagon.
17 years in the making.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, they first fought, if I'm not mistaken, UFC 49. I want to say.
Yeah, around there. That's absolutely crazy. Those guys were way before their prime. You could argue they're after their prime right now, but who really cares? These guys are gonna come to fight. This will not be a boring fight. They're gonna put on a show, and they're the co-main event for UFC 266. Volkonovsky versus Ortega. That'll be in the T-Mobile Arena, and man, these guys are gonna put on a show. Possibly fight out with the fight of the night check, and yeah, this is gonna be really fun. Good to see Nick Diaz back in there. Dana White claims he's been having good sparring sessions, and we already know he's in the best shape of his life. Robbie Lawler, he's not been in the best of form recently. His loss to Neil Magny was far from impressive. He didn't look like himself in there. He's a 2-1 favorite to win this, and there's a good reason why. We haven't seen Nick Diaz in so long. Who knows what skills he still has? So, very intriguing fight. A lot of question marks around this fight, and I'll certainly sit down and watch this. It's a very anticipated fight.
Yeah, as I was saying, 17 years in the making. 2004 is when they first met, and it was at UFC 47. 17 years later, they're gonna run it back, and it's just, as you mentioned, it's just what we want in our lives right now. We have a Nate Diaz performing, fighting regularly. Nate Diaz wants to fight in the next few months. Nick is looking like he's going to fight in September. It's not official yet, but El Rouhani said it's 90 to 95% done. So it's looking like we're going to have a good few months, and England's having a good few months, and we're in the final this Sunday. But some interesting news coming out of England from an MMA fighter, Paddy Pimblett. His bout agreement, but there's no word of an opponent yet. But it's the debut of Paddy Pimblett is happening.
Maybe you'll get that scoop.
Maybe September 4th, he announced they're looking at London.
Oh, yep,
if it doesn't happen in London,
that O2 arena.
Mm-hmm. That with Darren Till and Paddy Pimblett on the same card. Ooh, it's gonna be great. I can't wait. But yeah, Nick Diaz returning against Robbie Lawler. This fight makes a lot of sense. If you look at where Robbie Lawler is in his career right now, 4 losses back to that he's lost in a row now is it's not looking great for him at the moment. And Nick Diaz has been out of the game. How I want to say about 4 years, maybe, and 4 or 5 years.
6 years.
Last 6
fight
years.
Was Anderson Silva.
Yeah, which he lost. So
yeah, double suspension from each side of there.
And now look at you. Was it is it Envada?
Yeah, the Nevada State Athletic Commission.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
NSAC have now their rule of marijuana. They kind of no longer disciplined fight, which is good to see. I like that because it's not really performance enhancing. If you look at it, really it's making your performance worse, in my opinion. But it is what it is.
Yeah, just that's Nico Price. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, Nick Diaz returning at UFC 266. in September. There had been talks of a co-main event in versus Volkonovsky versus Ortega being the main event. So interested to see if that happens. But Nick Diaz is returning. That's the news we needed, and it's incredible to see him back. And I'm excited to see it. To be an MMA fan right now is we're in for a treat. We've got some this month in July. We're in for an absolute show, and I'm all for it. Mm-hmm.
100%. Just to give you guys the main events for the rest of this month, we have Poirier McGregor 3, and then the following week we have Islam Makhachev against Thiago Moises. That'll be a wonderful showcase for Makhachev, and then after that we have Sandhagen Dillashaw, the long-awaited return of TJ Dillashaw. And after that, we have Uriah Hall against Sean Strickland. That's the showcase we've been waiting for, Sean Strickland. This is going to be a wonderful month. Wonderful month. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all excited. And I'm so excited for the return of the Snake. And I do believe he comes back and, runs that division once again. But I'm a little bit biased. We'll talk about that in the future. If we get there, if he ever gets to the title shot again, we'll definitely talk about that. Anthony DeJesus just put hashtag Anthony DeJesus. Hashtag Anthony DeJesus. Yeah, put that in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, it's been incredible to talk to you, Oscar, about UFC 264. It's going to be an absolute banger of a weekend. I'm excited. This fight this weekend, Poirier versus McGregor, can go so many different ways. We both chose Poirier, TKO, and that's the way I see it going. That's the way you see it going. I'm excited to see what happens. It's going to be an interesting weekend of fights. We've got the Euros on Sunday, and then we've got the McGregor fight afterwards. It's going to be a great weekend for me, and I just can't wait. I hope you have a great weekend, Oscar, and thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, and have you guys an awesome weekend. It's going to be hard not to enjoy this card and sit down early and enjoy the prelims, because you'll be treated to some serious violence.
Yeah. If I'm not far too drunk already, I'll try and catch the prelims. But I never know. I don't know what's going to happen on Sunday. But if we do win the Euros, it could be a messy night. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, thank you, Oscar, for joining me. And we'll talk to you next week, and we'll talk about the outcome.